Did you manage it?
No, that's fine.
Fantastic.
Well done.
I declare it well and truly open.
To welcome so many guests here today, representing a very wide range of organisations, from Hackney Council and the Learning Trust, Woodbury Down Children's Centre, the PCT, members of local Jewish organisations, Norwood trustees, volunteers and staff. I'm also absolutely thrilled that Cherie Blair, our patron of children's services and great supporter, has returned to Hackney today for this occasion. And also Diane Abbott, MP for Hackney, North and Stoke Newington, has been able to join us. And thank you very much for that, and we'll be hearing from both Cherie and Diane later. The opening of the new Wellbeing Centre here on the Beerstead site demonstrates the importance of partnership in working to deliver health services together with social care services to communities like Hackney. This is actually groundbreaking collaboration between Norwood, the City and Hackney Primary Care Trust and Woodbury Down Children's Centre. And it will provide here expert care advice and services for the local Orthodox Jewish community. So how did this come about? Well, in December 2005, Norwood, just a voluntary, not-for-profit charitable organisation specialising in children and family services for the Jewish community, received approval for its proposal to offer health-related services to Orthodox families in this area in the Hackney community. The project was supported by the City and Hackney Primary Care Trust and funded by the government's Sure Start programme. Norwood was able to site this very important project in the heart of the Jewish community by adapting this building, which is adjacent to the already well-used Summer Centre, which is Norwood's Children and Family Centre in Hackney, which is the building we're going to go and see a little bit later. It was named Wellbeing at Beerstead because the building is on the site of the old Beerstead Hospital, which actually seems very appropriate. Meetings took place between the PCT and the health provision that we were going to offer here was agreed. It was felt appropriate that the services should be offered as responsively as possible to the Orthodox community which needs it and will use it. And this will adapt to the needs of local families, their well-being, in particular mothers and children. So although today we are celebrating the formal opening of the centre, the services had in fact already been up and running for a short while. The feedback that we have received from users includes comments from the book that include very informative thank you. This is an incredible service. Keep it up. It is good to see all of these facilities offered in one place. Everything was very well explained to parents. An excellent service, thank you. And they're direct quotes. So.
Well, thank you, Norma, for that kind introduction. And can I say how honoured I am to be here? As you say, it's my first official function since I've become patron. And I can't think of a better place to start off than this place, in the heart of a community which is, of course, a deprived community in Hackney, and also which is about providing really needed services to mothers and children. But you know, the other reason why it's wonderful for me to be here is that I can lay some claim to being a Hackney girl myself. Not totally, but some of you may know that Tony and I started our married life over in Dalston Junction in 1980. But then fewer people know that actually I lived in Morey Road in 1957, and my parents were, my father was in a play called No Time for Sergeants, and they lived in what was essentially student digs in Morey Road, and I, as a little 3-year-old girl, my sister, actually 2-year-old girl, my sister was actually born in Hackney Hospital. So this really is a place that I have a long-standing connection. But of course I also have a more recent connection, because it was about 3 years ago that I first came to visit the Summers Centre next door, which we're going to take a little bit. And I still remember those mothers and their children. Many of them, of course, very young mothers. Many of them with many children who needed the help and support that they were being given by Norwood in the centre, and which they will be given by this partnership in this wonderful new centre, because it is a wonderful new centre and something we really need to celebrate. Now, there's no doubt at all that Hackney has changed enormously since 1957, as I have in fact, and it's actually changed since Tony and I lived here in the 1980s. But what hasn't changed, despite the progress, is that it still remains one of the most deprived boroughs, not just in London, in this great affluent city, but actually in the United Kingdom. And of course, that puts huge pressures on families. And that is something that should concern us all. Now, one of the things that I find so compelling about the Jewish faith is the way it puts the family at the heart of Jewish life. You value it, you nurture it, and you support it. And that's exactly what is reflected in this centre. The other thing, of course, that I admire so much about the Jewish faith is how you put so much stress on the community helping itself, helping each other within the community. And that's why, of course, we see this centre today. It's about partnership, it's about working together, and it's about innovation. All the things that Norwood stand for. And what is Norwood doing in the innovations here today? Well, first of all, as we've seen, it's an advice and health centre. And I must say, I was absolutely fascinated, because I know you were, Diane, about the hearing. I can well remember, and all of you remember all those silly bells and children really wondering whether they were getting the child's attention at all. And to see this computer, this tiny little thing to be put in the ear, it's just incredible how, in such a non-invasive way, you can really find out whether the children are having hearing problems. And like everything else, the sooner you catch a problem, the more likely it is you can do something about it. You won't be able to necessarily transform everybody's opportunities, but you can really make a good start. And of course, this is what it's all about. This is what early years initiatives are all about. It's intervening as soon as possible. As soon as the baby is born, in fact, before the baby is born, it's wonderful to see the midwives and the health visitors who are there to monitor the progress of a child from really when he or she is conceived right through these early years. Now, this is a long process, and we've heard a lot about, is it really worth investing in early years, and sure start, is it value for money? I won't hear anything about that. It is absolutely the case that investing in these tiny people who are the future of our country.
The Orthodox community's commitment to family and commitment to its community adds an enormous amount to the cultural mix here in Hackney. It's one that I value. But there is no doubt that when I was first elected here 20 years ago, the services provided by statutory organisations like the Health Authority, like Local Authority, weren't necessarily meeting the needs of the Orthodox community. And I'm very glad to say 20 years later, partly through the work of the community itself and its voluntary organisations, but partly through forward thinking in the Council and in the Health Authority, we're starting to see a better match between the needs of the community and the services offered. And this is actually a tremendous step along that road.